Israel, or Ephraim as it's referred to. And so it deals with this carrying away, and it's the genealogy and the movement that transpires and happens. So we see that in chapter 3. When we move to chapter 4, now we're dealing with the individual tribes of the children of Israel. And of course, the first one that's dealt with is Judah. And Judah is in chapter 4, verses 1 through verse 23, is dealing with the tribe of Judah. And in the middle of that genealogy is the mentioning of one man. And that man was Jabez. And it's the prayer of Jabez. You may have heard that mentioned before. You may have heard a message on it. But as I was reading that this morning, and I was reminded of Jabez. Jabez, wasn't in the best of times. Matter of fact, his mother named him that because she bare him with sorrow. And she had sorrow in her life and named him that. And we're dealing with a time of our life where things are just so uncertain. And it's a new way of living, maybe a new life. We're living on eggshells. We're afraid. And here's what the Lord spoke to me about in the middle of this genealogy, dealing with Jabez, is the fact that Jabez called on God. He didn't rely upon anything else. He didn't rely upon his abilities. He didn't rely upon his means. He relied upon God. He called upon God. And he was specific in calling upon God. And he asked God to enlarge his coast. As I kind of studied that a little bit today, our idea is of a possession of land, but really it's a lot of different areas. It's an enlargement of family. It's an enlargement of possessions. It's an enlargement of land. It's an enlargement of abilities. He just wanted God to work in his life. And secondly, he asked for God's hand to be with him. He didn't ask for help from anybody else. He just wanted God's help. And then thirdly, he asked God to keep him from evil. Now, those are three, I think, great prayer requests. I know for my life, that's what I would want. But what I was encouraged by is the end of verse number 10, and it says, God granted him that which he requested. In other words, what he requested from God, God gave it to him. And you know what? If God can answer Jabez's prayer and God can grant the request of Jabez, God can grant our request. But what we have to do is to turn to God, truly turn to God, and not rely upon self, not worry, not have fear, not live our lives on eggshells. We just have to trust him. We got to call out to him. We got to rely upon him. And if anything that's happened, I hope that we would get through this situation that we're in right now, is that there is no doubt God has said, be still and know that I am God. What God is trying to do is I feel like he's beckoning us. He's trying to get us to turn to him and to request of him and say, God, I need you. God, I need you to work. God, enlarge my coast. I mean, if you're a small business owner right now, that could be a scary thought. Trust God. Allow God to take care of you. Allow God to enlarge your coast. Just call upon God. It may be that you're concerned about what direction you're going to go or how you're going to do things. Ask God to be with you. You and I can't have a greater friend than having God with us. And so we've got to turn to God. And I think very importantly, we need to stay away from evil. And we need God to help us with that. We need the Holy Spirit to speak, say, hey, don't do that. Hey, don't watch that. Hey, don't look at that. Hey, don't say that. And so I was so moved as we look at this. So we see the prayer of Jabez, but then as we go further into chapter 4, we then see the tribe of Simeon, and that is in verses 24 through the end of the chapter, in chapter 4. In chapter 5, we then deal with three tribes, well, 2.5 tribes. We deal with Reuben, Gad, and half the tribe of Manasseh. And so we see Jabez's prayer, and then at the end of chapter 5, we see the exact opposite action, the exact opposite choices, and the results of those choices. If you look at chapter 5 at the end, it says in verse 25, and they transgressed against the God of their fathers and went a whoring after the gods of the people of the land, whom God destroyed before them. And the God of Israel stirred up the spirit of the Pul, king of Assyria, and the spirit of Tilgath-Pilneser, king of Assyria, and he carried them away, even the Reubenites and the Gadites and the half tribe of Manasseh. He moved them from their inheritance because their choice to follow after the gods of that land. Now, you say, well, they shouldn't have listened to the people there. You need to remember something. As I thought about this, they destroyed them when they got ready to go into the promised land. So therefore, those gods were brought back up by the choice of those 2.5 tribes. So here we have two extremes. We have Jabez, who calls out to God and relies upon God. That's what I don't want to have the choice of following after something else. I so desire in my heart, I want God to use me. I want God to perform in me what he wants done. I just want to be the empty vessel for him. And that's where I've been challenged. Do I have burdens and prayer requests? I sure do. Do I want God to use me and enlarge my coast? I sure do. I want to reach more people with the gospel. I want to have an effect upon more people. I want God's hand with me. And I don't want to be a part of evil. And so this morning, I hope that as you look at these genealogies, you'll read this and you'll see the information and think there were things said about Reuben. Again, what we do in our life can be attached to our life even after we've passed. This is many, many years after Reuben had died. And he's still known for an action that isn't very honoring. It's so important. You say, well, I've messed up now. Well, then it's how you finish. Finish strong. Finish right. I hope that you'll get into the Word this morning and look at these chapters and allow it to speak to your heart. Be like Jabez. Don't be like the 2.5 tribes. Don't allow yourself to be like Reuben and have something placed at your name. Call out to God and let God do something great in your life. Well, we'll look forward to seeing you tonight. We have Wednesday night service, 7 o'clock. We're ready to do that. We've got a big announcement tonight. Can't wait. You need to be there. 7 o'clock. I'm excited at what God has allowed us to do. We'll talk about it tonight. But we'll see you at 7 o'clock tonight for our midweek service, our prayer time and Bible study.